don't have enough amount of money to go out and buy a new house, and they still want their traditional areas the same. But also with that, the only proponent I see is if they're not gonna use bicycles in these parks, or they're not gonna use the share car program in the areas, then that's a big drawback right there. But they have to, like, if the ANC don't vote on the park, that's probably gonna be the main issue with cars and transportation. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. So a question for you all, because again, the Commissioner of Bugs, represents the area, shared again her concerns, I think, as you're hearing here, and suggested that perhaps we take this up at a special meeting next week. The board has asked that we submit our report by the 22nd, which is the end of next week, I believe. So that would give all of us time to really make sure the community can hear from you. And so I guess my question is, based on what you're hearing, are there changes to the design you'd be willing to make that, while you don't need to say which ones right now, that may be a longer conversation. The commission has a right to great weight, and we can either support or oppose, or ideally we can find some amount of compromise where it makes sense. And so I guess my question is, are there areas where you would be willing to compromise and would therefore be worth us having a special meeting on this item before PZA's deadline?
I guess one of the challenges we've had, and I see both sides of it, right? We are proposing a substantial addition because the lot is very large and the allowable lot coverage is substantial. The volume is large. The criticism is towards the volume and it needs to be pulled back. The comments that we've gotten is no expansion out, just up, which is not viable for this client. And admittedly, maybe I'm wrong, but a 5 or a 10-foot reduction is not going to satisfy the community, and it does make a large impact on the client. So I'm wondering if it is worth our time. I mean, I think that's where we are as well. We want to. We've been trying to, but we sense we may be in an impasse. That's the challenging piece to this particular project.
I'm just trying to keep it consistent with the people that have been buying, and I don't want it to become Capitol Hill. I mean, I like the neighborhood. I like the way that families stay together. I like the way that everybody hangs out with each other. I come over and hang out in Trinidad. I mean, it's a good neighborhood, and I don't want to make it some anonymous neighborhood where people don't know their neighbors. And I feel like if we do two, potentially the people that are going to buy it are not going to be as ingrained in the neighborhood as if I made it a little bit less expensive and I had the opportunity, if I had the opportunity to make it less expensive, make some nice units where, I mean, each unit's got 3 bedrooms. I mean, I've heard consistently over the past year and a half from people who are moving out of condos because their kid turned 8 and they're hanging out in their space and they only have one hangout room. And so that went in, a lot of thought went into this design. So on every level, there's like, there's a place for an office, there's a place for the kids to hang out, there's a place for you to entertain your friends while your kids have friends over. I mean, it's somewhere where it can be your forever house instead of a condo that's just a temporary house, and you can ingrain into the neighborhood. And I love the people that I've already sold all my houses to. I mean, they are really good neighborhood people. They're actively involved in the community, and I just want to keep it in the style which Trinidad is, which is great.
Well, one of the unique things about buying a home in Trinidad, sometimes I say it's the luck of the draw, because whereas the houses look all the same on the front, but then you'll realize that they're different sizes, different widths. Some people, like in these, which I call the luck of the draw, is that you get the nice large yard where you can put your kids' swimming pool in the back.
Right.
And you can, if you have, like in my situation, 2 cars, can be expanded to 3 cars. Well, you can't put 3 cars in the yard because the yards are so long. So when you say that sort of thing, and then you look at some of the other folks whose yards aren't as big in Trinidad. So, you know, these are like the prime houses for people who want green space.
Right. And there's gonna be a lot of green space.
Well, no, but you cut off half of it. But I'm saying this is, I mean, if you look at my yard, these yards are twice as long as mine. Okay, so, and then we say families. My mother-in-law lived on Oak Street, had the same type of long yard. So when my kids were visiting grandma, there was a swimming pool in the backyard, there was the car in the backyard, they could run and everything because there was plenty of room, as opposed to my yard, which was shorter. So the swimming pool had to be at grandma's house around the corner. So when you say that, that's how people want, when you want to have a family environment. So if you, because like I said, because I don't know how the other 2 came in. I wasn't on ANC when the other 2 were built. And I was just amazed how that thing just shot out the back. And literally, because you could put 4 cars. There's enough room to park 4 cars. They got to be parked in front of each other. But you could put 4 cars back there.
We're gonna
Yeah.
try to
And-
make
and
room
then when you
for
say
more
the-
cars, but we can only legally do 2.
Right.
But
Legally, we can't
unofficially,
stack.
we'll
Well, that's
have
because it's 3
facilities.
units. Like if it was my yard, I could put 4 in mine because it's my car.
Right.
But then also, like say, like the one down the street, the condos, they're going for like $400,000 to $450,000 a piece. So my neighbor's house went from $675. So you're getting $400,000 each for each unit. So that's not going to be that's not a family, that's not a starter home price in the area. And that's not going to bring anybody in, but you know, so you will be changing the dynamic of the neighborhood by having these type of units, like the other 2 that are changing the dynamic of the neighborhood. That's just a comment.
I guess, I think we'd like to take, if I kind of answer my own question, if Commissioner Buggs is offering this, she obviously thinks there is some room to compromise. Are you willing to accept this meeting? I just don't want to waste anybody's time if we're arguing over 0 extension or full, you know, there's a big discrepancy between the positions right now, and that's what I'm recognizing.
Is there a yes or no?
I don't think so. I mean, we've done market research and we've done feasibility study, and the building, well, the building was sold to me as a condo conversion. That's how it was marketed. I spent a lot of money on the building, more than a single family home. Not crying
Sure,
over
and I think
river,
just-
but
I think
the
just
money,
to move aside,
but just to be honest, I mean, so when I got it, originally it was gonna be 2, and then I thought, I'll make 3, and then I can make them less expensive for all of the reasons that I just gave you.
And I think the
So-
thing is, and I hate to cut you off,
No,
right, because this is not the only item left in our agenda, and you've gone quite a bit over time. You know, the ANC has been asked to provide a report, right?
Sure.
And we have a ticking clock, and you all have a decision to make as well. I think what Commissioner Buggs often, and my sense from the discussion is that we would be opposing the project in its current form if we were to take a vote tonight. What Commissioner Buggs is offering is rather to provide another opportunity to really dive into the details and see if there's compromise, so that some sort of compromise can actually be reached and the commission can offer a letter of support. So that's the offer that I understand Commissioner Buggs is putting forward. Hearing one more question, and then I think we probably need to move this to a vote.
Just also some historical context. The buildings at the opposite end of the block were both put in before the regulations changed. So they had their permits in before
Gotcha.
the zoning regulations were changed, and they were limited to 2 units. Those each sold for about $6 to $750 per unit. So they did not need to have approval from ANC, so they never appeared before the ANC. And the regulations were changed by the DC government in reaction to destroying neighborhoods and people being upset and having developers come in to make a lot of money and destroy a neighborhood and walk away. And then neighbors are left with a 50-foot wall where they can't have a garden, and they lose value from their homes that they also bought for a forever home.
Is there any further discussion from commissioners? Alright, so I'm gonna put forward what Commissioner Buggs asked me to put forward, which was, at this point, unless the applicant's willing to sort of come back, the commission moved to to oppose the project for, the reasons that we've stated tonight. So I'm gonna go ahead and offer that motion that we move to oppose the project as it's currently been designed.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? All for the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, next up, we have, two hopefully fairly quick items. The next is number 17. This is regarding the ANC Omnibus Law of 2016. A copy of this legislation was, this did not make it in. So the letter that I'm handing out, this is a fairly simple letter of support for the bill. This is a council bill that is a major rewrite of the ANC law, which defines how we work, and particularly defines some things that are important to commissions, particularly around notice. And so I'll just actually read my letter and then explain why I'm in support of it and why I'm offering the motion. So just in the middle, it says ANC5D is pleased to offer its support for the council bill, ANC Omnibus Act 2016, along with some suggested modifications. As introduced, we believe that the bill strengthens our ability to thoughtfully represent our neighborhoods. We find that key provisions of the legislation, including additional notice requirements both to and by the ANC, creation of shared workspaces known as ANC hubs, and bi-weekly sharing of 311 data will give commissioners more of the tools they need to effectively advise district government. Finally, we concur with prior recommendations to strike the language proposing self-assessments and FOIA exemptions, and look forward to seeing those items removed from the final bill. So just to offer a little bit of explanation, there's a lot in that bill for folks that haven't seen it, but basically what I am personally most excited about is anytime an action like this, like we just saw, there's an additional 15 days of notice that the commission receives, which provides the commission more time to actually